The Vermont Utility Weather Hazards Outlook on this Friday morning. This is valid the rest of today, Friday, through next Thursday, March the 10th. Well, no impacts foreseen for utilities this period. In fact, a rather quiet break in the weather pattern across the eastern seaboard. And with high pressure in control, we shouldn't see any storminess. It'll be shifting more out along the western coast. And higher pressure will be ruling the roost, along with a significant warm-up for the good portion of next week. This will bring sugaring conditions along with mud season across many of our back gravel roads during the week next week. We're looking at probably the last of a snowstorm we're going to see here in the foreseeable future, as warm air is going to be flooding east into the eastern seaboard from the Pacific. And this is about the last snowfall we're going to see. This is a fairly powerful storm system off the Cape Hatteras, North Carolina Outer Banks, and this will continue to track a little bit east-northeast and well south of our region. Will not produce any precipitation for us, just pushing in a little bit of high cloudiness. We're starting to see the first in a series of Pacific storm systems that's going to knock down this ridge of higher pressure that's been very, very persistent and really controlling a lot of our weather here for colder air coming in the eastern seaboard. So this pattern is really undergoing a rather major change, and it'll feature a lot of colder air out on the west coast coming in off the Pacific Ocean and a major warm-up into next week. This is the HRRR model, and you can see some of that rain just off the west coast. We also have a storm system here that's exiting. A little bit of snow in New Jersey and into Long Island and far southern New England coast. That's going to be about it. And what's going to end up happening is temperatures are going to be rolling up into the upper 20s and very, very close to about 32 degrees later on this afternoon. We have this one little shortwave here bringing in a little bit of snow and some rain on the southern side. That's going to dive south and kind of dissipate out. Let's get to the daily forecast. So we'll go out over the next 8 days or so, and you can see that departing area of low pressure off the eastern seaboard, fairly significant, goes to the south of Nova Scotia, and off she goes in the ocean. One little shortwave trough moving into the southern part of the Great Lakes. A little reinforcing shot of cold air on Saturday. And then as we get into Sunday, we're going to start to see that warm up. And looks like a lot of the high pressure areas here are going to push main storm systems off to the west of us, but eventually develop a very strong area of higher pressure, almost a Bermuda high of sorts. And you'll see that start to take place right there, 1028 millibars. And it just kind of sits there for a long time to come. So we'll have moisture begin to recirculate back in from the Gulf of Mexico and then pull in and around this periphery of this area of higher pressure and then come at us from the north and west. Sometimes that can bring us a little bit of mixed precipitation types, a little bit of freezing rain, but at this point in time it looks like temperatures are going to be too warm for that as we get into the middle part of next week. But this is about as warm as it gets here, with really on about Wednesday, and then we start to see that moisture stream begin to collapse a little bit, and then a cold front moves through, it looks like on Friday next week. And just beyond, this is a pretty cold air mass, another area of higher pressure that's going to be pushing into the region, but it's a real tug of war or a battle right there, and you can see what ends up happening eventually is a lot warmer air, as we have these red lines representing thicknesses in the atmosphere and warmth aloft. So even looking 10 days out, this is the way it shapes up. We're looking at another warm up here, and then finally some precipitation making it into the region. By that time, we're going to be pretty dry around these parts. Projected accumulated rainfall, you can see not a whole lot, 0.25 of an inch, about a ½ inch north, a little bit more associated with that advancing area of low pressure to the south and east of us over the ocean. And we start to open the door for the Gulf of Mexico moisture. Meanwhile, back off the west coast, much needed rainfall is really going to add a lot of snow in the Sierra Nevada. It's going to be one of the stormiest sessions of this so far this winter, as El Nino induced storms will be kicking in big time to the west coast, and that is partly responsible as to what's going to warm us up. So this is snowfall over the last 3 days, and just a little bit north of Vermont, you can see we had too much warm air over the last 24 hours. And then our next 24-hour slot, not anything there. 3 days out, not a whole lot there. It's off the coast, Nova Scotia, with that ocean-going storm. And then the next 10 days, not a whole lot going on. We see a swath of the major storm track with the heaviest snows across north of the Great Lakes and closer to James Bay, Canada, and then in the Canadian Maritimes a little bit off the coast. But also, take a look at that. West Coast, higher elevations are going to get inundated. This is going to be a very stormy period, very good for a lot of snow accumulation out west. This is the actual snow cover. And you can see it's mostly along the northern tier areas and points north. It's about to increase in our local mountains out to the west. 7-day snowfall of the period from the February 26th to March 3rd. You can see 8 inches up in some parts of the kingdom, 7 inches up in the eastern parts of Franklin County. Not a whole lot in the lowest elevations either side of Vermont, and more associated in northern areas than southern areas. Down only 1 inch in northeast Bennington County. And a quick look at snow depths around the region. The most up in the Standard Mountain Range and along the spine of the Greens not being shown. Okay, switching to temperatures. This is the weighted maximum temperatures over the next 5 days. And you can see we're going to be running above normal. And here's how it looks 3 days later. You can see that we're up around 15 to 18 degrees above normal. A very significant warm up here for us moving in for the middle part of next week with looks like the warmest day on Wednesday afternoon. Temperatures could be possibly hitting above 60 degrees at that point. The general temperature schematic shows here we're coldest morning currently. We rise out of the Arctic air mass. It moderates every day, day by day, and it looks like it peaks out Wednesday afternoon. And you can see temperatures 55 to 60. I think we might actually get in the low 60s because we're probably not going to have any snow on the ground here, and there is a model bias to try to cool us down with a little bit more snow out there typically this time of year in March. And last but not least, this is the GFS ensemble. It shows us cold enough to snow, but no snow in the forecast. We are looking at warm enough to rain, roughly 7th into the 8th of March, and you can see just a little smidgens of precipitation with that shower activity coming over the top of the ridge out of the northwest and affecting mainly the northern half of the state later on as we get into next week, mainly Monday as well as Wednesday and Thursday. That's it from here. Enjoy this period. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights Consulting.